Eh?
Oh! It's our 200th episode, and that was how we used to start them back in the old days.
In fact, Mark Pricer of FTB Mates says, I remember back in the day you had an animated intro to all your videos. I truly enjoyed it and thought it was unique among all the sailing channels. I vote for a return to that. Yes, that would be outstanding. Just for you, Mark. 200 episodes, eh? Who'd have thought it? But it's not actually 200 episodes because we did a refit.
We did, and there's a lot of those.
That was 50 odd episodes.
Yeah.
And talking of refit, of course, some of you are probably tuning in for the third and final episode on our refit revisit.
Part 3 will be next week.
Next week, because we couldn't miss this opportunity to celebrate this milestone.
Yes. We've got clips from your favourite times, my favourite times, and also your favourite times. A lot of you wrote in and said you'd like to see certain things.
Yep. And some of these clips you've probably never seen before as well. It all started, at least the video started, when was it? May
well, the
2015?
episodes that we started counting, so number 1 was 10th of May 2015, yeah, and that had us in Langkawi going to the Butang Islands in Thailand, which over the last 5 years have become one of our favourite places.
Of course, 2015 is not where our story begins. We roll back to the dim and distant part of 2002 when I recorded my first ever sailing trip, and that was even before I'd met Liz. But I met you at the tail end of that year.
Yep.
And the rest is history.
Yep, Antigua Christmas Day.
Yeah. You know, I was actually going back through some of our old footage, I mean really old footage, and I've found video clips that I recorded on a crappy old camera. One of which was a delivery we did from, it was from Portugal to Gran Canaria.
Right.
On a super fast racing catamaran when we hit a force 8, which was rather an unpleasant journey.
When you say we, that's definitely not me, because
Not
I would
you.
remember that.
I know. This was in the time when I was doing boat delivery.
Yeah, okay. So we met, and pretty quickly by 2004 we had bought Esper, and she was in Turkey, so that's where we started sailing. By 2006 I had joined you, and we were on board full time. So 2006 to now we've been full-time liveaboards. And the first 3 years or so we were sailing the lovely coast of Turkey.
The Aegean. This is the western side.
Yeah, so
Just
the
beautiful.
Eastern Med. Yeah, and all around the Greek islands,
Wonderful.
over to Cyprus.
Yeah. 9 months a year of good sailing in that part of the world. Why did we ever leave?
I know, it's just so lovely there. And of course we weren't doing videos back then. There's a few little bits and pieces of video on our blog, followtheboat.com. But it's mostly stories and images and stuff like that. So you can actually go and check out what we were doing back then if you really want to.
Yeah, wind's picked up to a steady 20 knots, hitting 22, so I put a reef in the main. I just wish I knew how fast I was going. I've absolutely no idea. Still, nice first solo sail, crossing continents from Asia to Europe. How about that then, eh?
In 2009, we finally left Turkey, headed across the Med to Egypt on our way to India.
Transited the Red Sea, down the Suez Canal, and visited Eritrea and Sudan, which are still 2 of our favourite countries.
Absolutely.
And then after that, I've got something in my eye. We went down the south of the Red Sea, round the corner into Pirate Alley, and stopped off at Aden in Yemen. And do you remember, that's where we met the Yemeni fishermen.
So that was 2010, and times are very different then to they are now. Yeah, we had the piracy, but they have been at war in Yemen and the whole country is in a terrible state at the moment. So I just hope they're still with us.
Now at this point we should probably mention that all the while we were doing this trip from Turkey to India, we were actually doing podcasts. Although we have very little in the way of video footage, we have up to, I think it was about 80 episodes we recorded in the end. One of the highlights of our podcast, or I should say lowlights, was when we heard communication between naval warships trying to communicate with a commercial vessel that had been boarded by pirates. And I've got a little transcript here from the first part of that conversation. Warship, this is Coalition warship. Please state the number of crew you have on board. Over. Skipper, please stand down. Please stop following and alter course. This is Coalition warship. Please state your course and speed. Over. I will not answer any more questions. This is Coalition warship. Please can you tell us if there are any injured on board? Over. No, I will not. I will not answer your questions. This is Coalition warship. Please state your next port of call. Please stop following us. I will not answer any more questions. Out. And then there was radio silence. After that, you will hear this communication between two warships and then a little extract from the net that us cruisers were running later on that morning.
So this is Coalition warship 6-4. Please confirm no injuries to any crew members. Over. This is Coalition warship. Please identify yourself. Over. Negative. We currently do not have bridge-to-bridge contact with motor vessel Talca. Over. Omani warship. This is Coalition warship 6-4. My current position 16 degrees 57 minutes north, 056 degrees 25.6 minutes east. My current course 231, speed 14. I am currently 3.5 nautical miles astern of motor vessel Talca. I have been in contact with the motor vessel master, but he declined to answer several questions. Suspect that motor vessel Talca has been pirated. Response has been very limited, and we continue to attempt to hail and maintain trim position. Over.
Okay, everybody is here. Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. I have received a mail from UK MTO after my questions about the positions from the attacks. The attacks are exactly on the places what Esper gave to me, around 30 miles out the coast of Oman. There were 3 successful attacks. The pirate activity has sharply increased this week, and I predicted stay in port low, at least for a few days, whilst we try to gain a better understanding of this activity. Neil Parsonage, Commander Royal Navy. And the boat is captured here, not so far from here, was a Turkish freighter with 21 crew.
Then we moved on to India after all of that.
Yeah, finally we got to India.
Spent 3 years there, 3 years in India.
Yeah, they say you either love it or you hate it, it's Marmite, and we definitely fell on the side of love.
Unfortunately though, the sailing in India is, let's call it convoluted, shall we?
Yeah.
It's a little bit difficult, but we did spend 3 years there exploring around India on land.
And talking of India, Dan and Vicky on Patreon sent us this. I had just finished driving the west coast of India from Kerala to Jaisalmer and realised my favourite part of the whole journey was visiting sleepy fishing villages, checking out ancient temples and being in places Western tourists rarely venture. I thought it would be even better if I could sail the coastline instead of driving along it. Living in Mumbai at the time, I started doing the internet research and stumbled across your blogs, specifically where you sail into Mumbai near the gateway and chilling at the Mumbai Yacht Club. I thought to myself, I want a piece of that, and I've been following you ever since. It's been about 6 years since that moment. I have watched your videos, signed up as a patron, spent countless hours on Yacht World, done both the RYA Competent Crew and RYA day skipper courses, and if it wasn't for COVID-19, there's a damn good chance I would be on my own little 30 to 35 footer right now.
It wasn't until we arrived in Southeast Asia after India when we started that long process of the refit.
And it was during the refit that we started videoing.
That 50 odd episodes was the beginning of what you see now, because whilst we were doing that, we bumped into Bian of Totem, and she said to us, have you thought about monetizing your videos? By the way, there's this boat out there called Delos who are doing exactly that. And we said, Delos, who are they?
Never heard of them. In fact, I think it was only Delos. I think Le Vagabond had started. Drake Paragon and White Spot Pirates here were the only other sailing channels.
So we got in touch with Brian and asked him directly, hey, what's this all about? And Brian was very good. He actually became one of our first Patreons. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we became friends with our other first Patreon.
We did indeed. Our very first Patreon was a guy called American McGee, and he has figured, if you watched our videos, quite a lot in some of them.
And now I have to lovingly rub suntan lotion on American's back.
This is all I really wanted for my birthday. It's the whole reason I came out.
What have we been doing for the last 5 years then? We have been...
Prattling around?
Yeah, apart from prattling around and getting stuck in marinas for ages waiting for bloody engines and stuff like that, we have been sailing in Thailand, Indonesia and Malaysia, and the waters around those 3 countries. I think we clocked up around about 10,000 miles, over 200 islands.
I'd say it's a lot more than 10,000 miles.
No, well I clocked it up, but I think it's probably a lot more.
I mean, it's 150 miles just from Langkawi up to, beyond Phuket.
We did it loads of
We've done that a
times.
lot of times.
Yeah. So we're not very good on the logbook. We don't...
Yes, we do. We do record.
I don't want an argument about it.
We record every single mile.
I know, and I added them all up.
But what we haven't done is accumulate them.
That's what I was going to say before you interrupted. There's no accumulated mileage. So I went through 2 logbooks and did it all manually, so I probably left a few thousand out here and there. Anyway, this is boring. We have all these episodes. We've got 200 episodes. So what are your highlights?
My highlights? Well, there are so many. We asked this question of you guys as well, so we'll come on to some of your suggestions. I think, though, on the whole, it's the real challenging sailing, specifically the bad weather. Okay, what you see behind us is a proper Indian Ocean northwesterly squall. It begins there, goes all the way around. This ain't no little fluffy rain cloud, this is a big bad motherfucker. So we've just spotted a little water spout just off that island through there. Not something we really want to be looking at. I don't know what's worse though, the water spout or this. It suddenly got darker and the wind, as you might be able to hear, is just picked up. Picked up to 30 knots now. There's a white crescent wave. Listen to that wind. Despite this being the tropics, it is very, very wet and very, very squally. And some of these weather patterns can happen in the space of minutes and they can catch you unawares. And that's one of the things I quite like. It really pushes you, it challenges you.
Yes,
and,
it challenges you in the sailing and challenges you in the videoing of the sailing as well, of course.
Talking of challenging sailing.
Hi, Jamie, Liz and Millie, of course. My favourite clip that I would like to see is when you talk about negotiating a tricky entrance. You know what I mean.
Well, I've had a few challenging entrances in my life.
Haven't we all, darling?
But we did cover this off in a couple of extras, didn't we? How to navigate through reefs.
Yeah.
And of course, that's one of the biggest challenges. If it's not out in the open waters in big seas, it's getting into tricky locations.
And to be honest with you, some of the most challenging are coming into new marinas. Even the most experienced people can get a little bit phased when you're coming into the marina for the first time.
What about yours, Liz?
For me, the highlight for the last 5 years has probably been the Anambas. A place we've never been anywhere like it, and there are people on those islands who have stuck in my mind forever. In fact, Mac and Mam on YouTube Community sent us this. Following the boat has convinced us to become liveaboards. We loved the Anambas episodes and hope to experience them one day. Cheers! One of the most memorable people was Wayne Rooney. We met him in Ayaputi. Who was just a lovely, lovely kid who was determined to show us around his town. They had never seen a sailboat before. No one had ever anchored outside their village, and they were thrilled to have us there, and we were so thrilled to meet them all. So Wayne Rooney here has been showing me the mango trees, which I think they've planted because they seem very, very proud of them, in amongst all the coconuts. David Johnston on FTB Mate said, I thought the kids in Tarempa were funny. Oh yes, you mean...
The naughty, sweary kids.
Naughty, sweary boys.
I beg your pardon. No, naughty, no.
They were hysterical. In fact, we met the parents as well, and we met the whole community. We spent 2 days with them, and yeah, they were funny and they were great. And I will never forget learning the words for coffee without sugar. Can you remember what they were?
Kopi tanpa gula.
Okay, we're at the coffee shop and I've just been volunteered to try some therapy. It's supposed to be good for the circulation, so we're just going to have a go now.
Sebenarnya bisa sampai 100 derajat.
I think it might be caustic soda. It's hot. It's a trick. Oh, it's a trick.
Yeah.
Ow.
I think, of course, that is one of the other highlights of doing what we're doing. It isn't just the sailing, it is about meeting people and going to new places. And Trev, also called Bob Socks, makes this comment. You both understand the Eastern culture and work with it and respect it. And I've noticed that recurring on your channel. You guys never try to change where you are. You embrace the culture, point out the differences, and show a smile in a true international language.
Jamie, if you had to pick one moment, one highlight, one single highlight from the last 5 years, what would it be?
Easy. Krakatoa. And I wasn't the only one. Quite a few of you said Krakatoa was your favourite. Dan and Vicky said those drone shots of Krakatoa left me breathless. I felt an intense spike of envy and have revisited those segments quite a few times.
John Michael simply said, Krakatoa!
And Danny Basso says the orange dinghy in the middle of the grey. Talking of Danny Basso, Danny, are you listening? Big shout out to you. Danny is our most consistent FTB mate. I think he's commented on more posts than anyone else.
It's even than me, I think.
Yep, and me, and more than me.
Wow.
So one of the things we do on FTB Mates is we have a little kind of a fun incentivization thing where you collect doubloons. So the more that you comment, the more videos you watch, the more doubloons you earn.
Yeah.
And we've been calculating the top hoarders on FTB Mates, and Danny is way above everyone else.
Yes.
So Danny, we've got a little surprise for you. You win an FTB mug, an FTB t-shirt, and an FTB bag.
Yeah, well done, Danny. And in fact, we're going to do this now as a regular thing.
Yeah.
Either weekly or monthly, have we decided?
We haven't decided
I think
yet.
monthly. So we've got the monthly prize draw for everybody, and then we've got the monthly top prize for top commenter.
Just before we leave the Anambas, I have got to mention the underwater photography and the snorkeling there.
Yeah.
The waters are so clear. It is one of the best places we've ever been for snorkeling.
Dan Herman, thank you very much for this. I really appreciate this. He goes right back to one of the earlier episodes. He says he loves James Bond Island. And the reason I love your comment is that that was one of the ones I edited back in the day when I used to edit. I'm rather fond of episode 26, James Bond Island, a great balance of information, unique scenery, awesome cinematography, and, of course, there's Millie. Cheers to 200. Thanks, Dan. Phang Nga Bay was proving to be even more spectacular than we'd imagined. We couldn't get enough of the jagged limestone cliffs that grew out of the placid green water. So instead of heading east to the white sandy beaches of Phuket's better-known islands, we ventured further north. We didn't have far to go, around 5 nautical miles, but it was far enough away to be the only boat at anchor in a stunning natural haven. But of course, it hasn't always been sweetness and light from some of our viewers. We have had a few negative comments.
Doug Mooney, who said, your wife or mother, can't tell, has the manners of streetwalker. Classless is the best word. Where did you find her? Drunk on a floor in Bangkok. Thanks, Doug. She wasn't drunk on the floor in Bangkok, it was actually in Antigua. Here's a lovely one from Scott Matham, who says, F your cat. If she can't swim, no place here like building a pyramid on a cat box still smells like shit to M.
What does that mean?
One man outfit says, do us all a favour and go live in a shed somewhere totally controlled by the government. And 3 of my favourites, this is from Shrike. So why don't you just piss off if it's all wrong? Just bugger off. This is my favourite. You look like a giant penis in a shirt. This is from Bork, the Swedish chef.
Oh, yes.
You're a c***, and your wife looks like my ballsack.
On a lighter note, going back to our favourite places, of course, if you've been watching more recently, you'll know how gorgeous the Mentawai Islands are off the west coast of Sumatra. We spent a few months there last year. Well, I went for a little walk around the side here, and there's a shack which you could see from the boat. And I thought I'd go to investigate, just make sure there were no snakes. And it's quite unusual. Come in through the garden at the front there, over the wall, and there's a little piece of artwork here with lots of beautiful things in it. And over here is a little collection of plastic. It looks like someone's been going around the beach and picking up plastic, putting it all together. I guess at some stage they'll take it off the island. And they've used bits of glass and odd tops and things just hanging here from these all the way around, intermingled with beautiful shells. Kind of nice. Bastian's mum said she loves Millie, and she's not the only one. I wonder how many of you have seen this particular piece of footage we shot back in 2009. Bastian's mum oh, fuck off. Bastian's mum wrote in to say that she loves Millie, and I think she's not the only one. And I do wonder how many of you saw back in 2009 this piece of footage we uploaded from Turkey of Millie learning to use the rope ladder. Apart from the weekly episodes, of course, we do extras and ask questions, all kinds of other bits and pieces, and some of those have been the most popular pieces that we do.
We should just give a quick shout out to Erica Maxim. She's another FTB mate. She came up with lots of ideas. One of the things she suggested was all the cooking bits.
We're going to cook those 3 fish that we caught yesterday. First thing I'm going to do is just make a fume.
There we go, 200 episodes in a nutshell.
Done and dusted. Here's to the next 200, and here's to you guys for making it real. Here's to the next 200. Cheers. That was shit as well, you didn't do the cheers.